Hello and welcome to EllieMD's Live Educational Series. I am EllieMD's social media manager and tonight's host, Brenda Rios. At EllieMD, our mission is to help people live healthier, longer lives. We go beyond telehealth by creating a community rooted in education, innovation, and personalized support so you feel empowered every step of your wellness journey. Tonight, we're very thrilled to welcome back Sally Sykes, founder of Empowered Health Consultants. With more than 15 years of experience in functional medicine, Sally has helped countless patients take control of their health through root cause strategies, focusing on insulin resistance, hormone balance, and sustainable weight loss. If you haven't heard, her path into this work is an inspiring one. After reversing her own type 2 diabetes and experiencing the loss of her father to Alzheimer's, Sally made a bold career shift from law to functional health coaching. Since then, she has dedicated her career to prevention, healing, and helping others thrive, especially women navigating through perimenopause and menopause. So, Sally, welcome back. It's always such a pleasure to have you with us. And as you mentioned, we have new people who are here. So they might not know a little more about you. So can you please share what inspired your transition from law into functional medicine?
Yeah. So I was always, I was the oldest of eight kids, and I was not eight, well, eight cousins and four kids. And the oldest child, you're expected to perform and do all this stuff. So I was like, you're either going to law school or you're going to med school. And I was a good writer, so I ended up going to law school. And it was fine. I did a good job in that. But it wasn't like my favorite, but I was like, all right, I felt good about it. And then when I got married and had kids, I decided to stay home with my kids. And around that time, my dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And there's no cure for Alzheimer's disease, right? And he was young. He started having symptoms in his 40s. He was dead by 67. So, really, the only thing out there is prevention. And I found this book called The End of Alzheimer's by Dr. Dale Bredesen. Highly recommend if you have Alzheimer's in your family. And he lays out in this book a dementia prevention protocol that includes optimization of a bunch of different labs, whether it's glucose control, hormones, thyroid, nutrients, inflammation, all that kind of stuff. Which, as many of us don't know, when we get our labs done, basically it's off to the abnormal side, and we're either in the normal range or not. The normal range of labs is just the average of all the usually sick people getting those labs at that lab, right? And so the lab ranges are going to vary by lab, they're going to vary by geographic location, and they also vary by time. So if you look back at your labs from 20 years ago, the normal ranges are going to be different. And so, as the American population has gotten sicker and sicker, these normal ranges have gotten sicker and sicker. So, guess what happens to you? You go to the doctor saying, I can't lose weight for the life of me. I'm eating air and gaining weight. I'm losing hair. I have no libido. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I'm exhausted. What is going on? And your doctor, well, your labs are normal. Well, yeah, they're normal for the average sick American, right? And so my coaching clients and my coaching practice is around functional lab analysis and taking, first of all, figuring out what are the labs that need to be ordered, because most doctors are not ordering adequate labs, like a full thyroid panel for a full hormone panel. Then analyzing those labs from an optimal range standpoint so you actually get answers, right? Because there's a very big difference, especially in thyroid, from being in the normal range to being in what is optimal, right? And same with hormones and same with metabolic labs, right? They literally want to wait till you have full-blown type 2 diabetes and you're about to get a foot amputated before they will say anything is wrong or help you in any way. So when I analyze labs, that's what I'm doing. And I'm helping patients, giving them a full report on their results, and then diet and lifestyle recommendations, supplements, and then medications to ask their doctors about. So, what are all of your options if you're in perimenopause and menopause for replacing hormones? Not just as you know all your options, you can go in as an educated consumer and ask for what you want. As a lot of times you go into a doctor's office and they're like, oh, pellets, they're the only way to do hormone replacement. Well, that's really great for their bottom line. Those thousands of dollars not covered by insurance. And guess what? You're stuck with pellets. You can't change the dose, right? And we have very inexpensive over-the-counter bioidentical methods. So I give you all the methods, patches, pellets, creams, injections, whatever sounds good to you, then you know what to ask your doctor for. So it gets you better faster. So that's what I do. When I found Dr. Bredesen's table of optimal labs, I thought, well, I need to go online and find all the other optimal ranges for labs. There has to be some list somewhere. There wasn't. And so the basis for my practice is my research from years, creating my own database of labs with optimal ranges from PubMed studies, from reading books by MD, functional MDs, what works. And then now 20 years of working with patients on just clinical knowledge of analyzing labs over and over again. What are the ranges where patients feel their best when they are able to lose and maintain weight effortlessly? Um, and then I do a lot of helping patients find new doctors because often that is what is necessary. I myself have four different providers that help me get what I need, my thyroid meds, my hormones, peptides, of course, get from Ellie. And so, so yeah, that's what I do. It's super, super rewarding. I have mostly individual coaching clients, but I also contract with medical practices to run their GLP-1 weight loss programs. So I design those programs, specifically design and promote microdosing programs. So where you're at least starting with a microdose and you're titrating up very slowly with in between doses, which you can do with the compounded forms like Ellie provides. So I design all the what to eat, fitness resources, the entire 360 program. So those patients are super successful.
I love it. Oh man, we're already getting so many questions about labs, so we'll take a deeper dive into it.
Let's do it.
Yes. So to start us off, can you give us a simple breakdown of what the thyroid gland is and
Mhm.
how it actually functions in the body, the importance of it?
Absolutely. So the thyroid gland is a butterfly shaped gland here in our throat that it's the master gland for every cell in our body. It is our metabolism. So it controls every cell in the body has thyroid hormone receptors. It is critical for energy, fertility, healthy hormones, hair growth, cognition, mood, you name it. Thyroid affects it. Um, so when thyroid care, especially in this country, is done so poorly that it is affecting so many people. The normal ranges are so off. Um, and most 99% of the time, if you go to a conventional medical doctor, not only are they not doing a full thyroid panel, they're only testing TSH and free T4, which is the inactive thyroid hormone. Well, let's go through the labs. You want to go through the thyroid labs that you should be asking for? Anybody want to know that?
We did get that question.
Yes. Okay, let's do it. So, in order to properly diagnose and treat a thyroid problem, you have to have a full thyroid panel, which sounds logical. Most doctors and endocrinologists in conventional medicine, though, are only going to test TSH and T4. TSH is not even a measure of the amount of thyroid hormone you have in your body. TSH is simply a signaling molecule from your brain to your thyroid hormone, asking it to make more thyroid hormone. We need more, right? But sometimes when the body is stressed or under or inflamed or under chronic inflammation, that kind of thing, that signaling pathway gets disrupted. You need more thyroid hormone in your body, but your brain's not asking for it. It's pooped, right? So that's not a good, the TSH is not a good measure of how your thyroid's working. The other lab that they're going to test is free T4. Also, not helpful. This is your inactive thyroid hormone. So imagine you're a car and you need gas to run, right? And somebody says, no problem. We're just going to test how much crude oil you have. And you're like, well, okay, but like, I need gas to run. Oh no, but your body's going to convert that crude oil into gas. But for most patients, they don't convert it. So they're sitting there with a bunch of inactive hormone. So they've got the wrong tests. And then guess what? The number one thyroid medication is that's prescribed levothyroxine, tirosint, synthroid, Levoxyl. All of those. Guess what is contained in those? T4 only inactive hormone. So for most patients, they do not feel better on a T4 only medication because their body needs active thyroid hormone, which is free T3. We're going to get to that next, and which is the gasoline to run your tank. and the doctor's only testing and giving you crude oil. And you're going, well, I don't know what to do with this. Like, I can't really, I need to convert it. When our bodies are inflamed, if we have insulin resistance, if we have Hashimoto's, they're because of toxins in the environment, chronic stress, the way we're living, you guys, alone right now, it's not conducive to human beings, right? The chronic stress alone causes our bodies not to convert the inactive to the active form. So the vast majority of patients need some sort of active thyroid hormone to bypass that conversion system so they actually feel better. So, yes, we can test TSH and free T4, that's fine. But we also need to be testing, this is the most important, free T3. Free T3 is your gasoline. That's your direct active thyroid hormone that gives you energy, that grows your hair, that makes you fertile, gives you healthy pregnancies, healthy menstrual cycles, and gives you like cognition, good mood. So one of the thyroid practices I work with, she started in functional psychiatry, you guys. So she was seeing patients with depression, anxiety, brain fog, all these things. She, on a whim, decided to start testing their thyroid function. And across the board, almost all of them had low thyroid function. And she started treating them with T3. And guess what? Their depression disappeared, their brain fog disappeared. And slowly over time, she was like, I don't have a functional psychiatry practice. I have a thyroid practice. It was like amazed, which is fantastic because we think about it like we don't have maybe a Prozac deficiency, but we might have a free T3 deficiency, right? That's where I kind of, when patients say, I don't want to go on a medication. I don't want to be on medication for the rest of my life. I try to point out that there's a difference in functional medicine, at least the way I look at medications that happen to be prescriptions. There's two different categories. There's the ones I don't want to be on anyway, either. These are I call them band-aid medicines, right? They're covering up symptoms. They're not addressing the root cause. If you have weight gain that's unexplained, you don't have a phentermine deficiency, right? Speed. You might have, though, a GLP-1 deficiency. Those have been documented in patients with prediabetes, diabetes, overweight, obesity. So GLP-1 is kind of like bioidentical hormone replacement for the metabolism. We make GLP-1. We make it in our own bodies. It's a short chain of amino acids. It's a peptide. Our bodies know what to do with it. We're just giving it a little boost to get us back to where we were when we were younger, to help lower inflammation, boost metabolism. It's one of the greatest advances GLP-1s are in medical care, in my opinion, since penicillin, even if it caused no weight loss because of all of the health benefits. So, back to thyroid. So TSH, free T4, free T3, we want to test. We also want to test something called reverse T3. And this is important because it shows how much stress your body is under. So reverse T3 slows down your metabolism. It's the body's brakes on the metabolism. And you would think, why in God's name do we want reverse T3? Why would our bodies be evolved to do that? Well, if you think about when we were cavemen on the African plains and we were being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, it was self-preserving for our bodies to say, oh, hell no, we are not burning calories right now. We do not have enough food. We're being chased. I definitely don't need to be ovulating right now and having kids. I don't need to be growing hair, right? I need to survive. I need to conserve calories, conserve body fat. So under times of stress, chronic stress, inflammation, insulin resistance, those kind of things, our bodies say, we need to make you want to lay down and go to sleep. So instead of converting the crude oil, the T4, into active T3 to run your body, give you energy, move you along, burn calories, it says, that's too dangerous. We're going to take the T4 and we're going to convert it into reverse T3 instead to slow down your metabolism, make you stop burning calories, hang on to every fat cell. And I have maybe in 20 years seen 3 or 4 normal optimal levels of reverse T3. We want that nice and low. Almost everybody who comes to see me has a very high reverse T3. They're not converting. Their bodies are in fight or flight. And when that happens, if you give somebody the inactive form of thyroid hormone to treat them, they're just going to convert it to more reverse T3, which is going to make them feel even worse. And then they go back to their doctor. I'm still gaining weight. What's going on? And the doctor's like, well, I guess eat less, exercise more. You're lying about what you're eating, right? Like, and then this is just pitiful. And then finally, we want to test for Hashimoto's antibodies. There are two Hashimoto's antibodies we want to test for. The first is thyroglobulin antibodies, TG for short, and thyroid peroxidase antibodies, or TPO. And the reason we want to know if you have thyroid antibodies, doctors will say, we don't need to know that. It's not going to change our treatment course. And that's because they just don't understand how to treat autoimmune disease, right? They think it's impossible to put an autoimmune disease into remission. And that is not true. The thyroid clinic I work with all the time, they put people into remission all the time. I'm in remission. So we want to know because over 90% of low thyroid function is due to Hashimoto's disease, which is an autoimmune disease of the thyroid. So we want to know if you have those antibodies. And the antibodies, like, what does that mean, right? Antibodies mean they're basically little soldiers. Think of them as soldiers attacking your thyroid gland and destroying it over time, replacing it with scar tissue so that over time your thyroid cannot work as well over time. You're going to gain weight more and more as it gets destroyed. And so you want to be on the right combination of medications. And the only way to figure that out is to get all of these labs done. Are you converting? How much straight T3 do you need versus T1, T2, calcitonin, T4? And do you need maybe something else to help lower Hashimoto's antibodies? Eliminating gluten, eliminating cow's dairy. Those are huge. Um, Low dose naltrexone, which is amazing for lowering antibodies. And we're finding in this thyroid practice that I work with is that GLP-1s are lowering both Graves' and Hashimoto's antibodies, even at low doses. So for those patients who are suffering from those conditions but maybe do not have weight to lose, microdosing in a small dose that you're not losing weight, but you're still lowering antibodies, you're still lowering inflammation. We have a lot of patients doing that. These medications have so many potential uses. So I hope that helps to explain what the thyroid is, why it is so important, and the labs you want to demand from your doctor. Uh, yeah.
No, I love it. And we had a couple of people also mention that GLP-1s really helped with their thyroid. Laura said, my thyroid has reduced in size since being on a GLP-1 slash GIP.
Hmm.
Maureen said that since I believe she had NP thyroid T3 and a microdose of GLP-1 saved her after a thyroidectomy. A couple
Mhm.
of more, so it's amazing. And so going back to labs a little, how often should someone get their thyroid labs checked? And what are questions that they should be asking their provider?
Well, they should be asking them about getting on, especially if they have low free T3. Your free T3 optimal range should be about 3.7 to 4.2, like the top quarter of the range. If it's below that, you want to ask your doctor. And if your reverse T3 is above a 12, you want to ask your doctor about adding a medication that contains straight T3 so you don't have to worry about conversion because you're obviously having a conversion problem. Often that will come with high uh, free T4, that inactive hormone. So it's sitting there and it's not converting. So that is going to be natural desiccated thyroid medications like Armour Thyroid. That's what we prefer. NP Thyroid is another brand, but it has been shown to be less consistent in how much medication you're getting. And so some patients don't feel as good on it as they do on Armour. But if that's all you can get, that's better than nothing. So the best combination I see for sort of the average coaching client I see is a base of a natural desiccated thyroid product that contains T4, T3, plus T1, T2, and calcitonin, which are other thyroid hormones and cofactors that help everything work together. Um, is made from pig thyroid gland, which is the most like ours. And a lot of endocrinologists or conventional medical doctors, they'll say, oh, T1, T2 and calcitonin, we don't really know what they do. They're not necessary. Our body doesn't make things that aren't necessary. So the patients with the highest satisfaction rate who have hypothyroidism are the ones on natural desiccated thyroid that have all of this together. And they are the ones who have the easiest time losing weight and maintaining weight. Um, a lot of times, what we'll see is a doctor will also layer on top of an armor thyroid with a little bit of everything. Additionally, a straight T3 medication. So they might need a little more just straight active hormone. And that is called liothyronine. The brand name is Cytomel. So I know that's a big word. Lio, thyronine, Thyronine. And Cytomel is spelled Cytomel. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
And mhm.
so that there, you could be on a combination depending on, and if you have Hashimoto's antibodies, they could also add low dose naltrexone and a GLP-1, right? So all of that together might be something, but that is what's going to really work, not just levothyroxine, synthroid, tyrosine inactive. So that's where we see people's lives are changed and how they feel. The thing with the thyroid problem, though, is we can give people their lives back with their thyroid issue and get them feeling better, mood better, energy better. But often the weight loss with a thyroid problem, because of the damage that it does to the metabolism, is the last piece of the puzzle. And so for these thyroid patients, the adding the GLP-1 has been the magic bullet, the final straw that helped them get to their goal, and has been absolutely amazing. And somebody asked, can you use a GLP if you have a thyroid problem? 100%. In fact, it's especially recommended for those with a thyroid problem. Um, let's see.
And building on that, we spoke a little on like Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism. Can you explain more on what those are and how it affects the body?
Yeah. So any autoimmune disease, your body is sensing that your own tissue is an invader and is attacking that tissue. So what happens when you eat gluten and cow's dairy, oftentimes, and even corn sometimes, but usually gluten and cow's dairy are the worst. Those molecules can look like thyroid tissue to the body. And so they start attacking that and so it causes a degradation of the thyroid gland. And the way when I get glutened and my Hashimoto's antibodies go up, the way it feels in my body is heavy legs, total exhaustion, can't get out of bed. And that's with just I see patients with antibodies in the hundreds and thousands. If my antibodies are like a 14, I can't function. I'm like, I can't even. So I don't know how people are doing it with antibodies in the hundreds and thousands. But sometimes it gets that far gone if they've been with a conventional endocrinologist and not getting help and they just didn't know that the gluten in the dairy was such a big deal, or that GLP-1 and LDN can help lower those antibodies. Because the idea is we want to know if you have an autoimmune condition because we can reverse it and we want to stop the destruction of the thyroid gland, right? We want to preserve your thyroid gland. We don't want to give you what is essentially a hysterectomy of the thyroid, right? We want to hang on to our hormone releasing parts as long as humanly possible. But, for women, they just like to rip out our parts. They just willy-nilly, that sounds like a lot of trouble. I don't really want to do the actual labs and spend actual time with you adjusting doses. Let's just rip it out. Just no. Mm-mm.
And how reversible are these autoimmune thyroid conditions, or are they just manageable?
They are very reversible. I see it every day, but it's mostly in functional medicine practices because conventional medicine doesn't, they think it's a chronic progressive disease. There's nothing to be done. They don't even though it's documented that antibodies go down if you get rid of gluten and cow's dairy. Like it's like they're just like, no. Well, I think a lot of them are just so jaded, they don't think that it's possible for patients to make dietary changes, so they don't even advise in it. Or they haven't been taught about nutrition and that food is medicine. It really is. So yeah, it's very reversible, and we see it all the time.
Amazing. And this question is really good. I want to make sure we cover it. So if you're already taking LDN and microdose tirzepatide, do you need to stop those before doing any thyroid lab work for results?
No, in fact, stay on them. Um, because we want to see if what you're doing is working, right? So, if whatever you're on, go get those labs done using whatever you're on, and then you can say, okay, I'm on levothyroxine. Look how my T4 is super high. My TSH is making me look normal, but look how low my free T3 is. It's not converting. My reverse T3 is high. I need to get off this, get on Armour Thyroid plus some liothyronine, and then see if that works. And you just ask your doctor, I am still having symptoms of hypothyroidism, hair loss, fatigue, brain fog, uh, depression, anxiety, irregular periods, right? Infertility, whatever it is. If you are trying to get pregnant, please find a functional medicine thyroid provider so that you have a healthy pregnancy. It kills me how many of my friends are going through IVF and they shouldn't have had to. They finally got with a good thyroid practice and got their thyroid optimized, and now their AMHs are going up, which is your egg count, just because they needed thyroid hormone. Let's see. Um, let's see.
And
Uh,
what are some less obvious or sneaky signs that your body might be showing that your thyroid function might be off?
A huge one is high cholesterol. So, cardiologists who just knee jerk to statins, which double your risk of diabetes, double your risk of dementia, deplete CoQ10, lower hormones because cholesterol is the building block for every hormone in the body. The good ones are all ditching statins and moving to GLP-1s and thyroid medicine, right? My own fiance was on statins, was severely insulin resistant because that's what happens when you get put on a statin. You become diabetic and insulin resistant. He had a gut. He was lifting weights, but he couldn't put on muscle mass because his testosterone tanked on the statin because his cholesterol was so low. He had no building block to make testosterone. He got off the statins. He got on a GLP-1, lost 30 pounds. He's now maintaining on a low dose every 1 to 3 weeks. He's on Armour Thyroid and he is on testosterone. He's 58 and he looks jacked, not crazy jacked, but like good jacked, and is super healthy. And I am certainly healthier than I was in my 20s. I'm on Armour and a bunch of peptides and all three hormones. So, and I can't even tell you, my face looked completely different in my 20s. And that's even before I had the facelift. But when I fixed it, like I just had I called it drinky fat face. It was when in my 20s, I was living on alcohol, gluten, dairy, sugar. I mean, Mountain Dew and Pop Tarts, you guys, like really? Like, yeah, it was not a good look. Yeah, like I thought I just had a round face. Like I don't. I have an oval face apparently.
And Tiffany asks, what about women with high cholesterol who are already underweight?
High cholesterol and underweight.
Hmm.
I would get a full thyroid panel and see what's going on. But honestly, like what we define as high cholesterol used to be normal at 300, 330. And then the pharmaceutical companies got statins to sell. And so they're trying to lower it, and qualify more people for statins so they sell more of them when the studies on it are the people with the highest LDL actually live the longest. Cholesterol is cancer protective. Like cholesterol below, I think it's 188, you start to see more cancers. Cholesterol below 150, you start to see increase in cognitive decline. And I've seen that. Um, I had a coaching client in her 80s who was started on a statin a couple months ago. And every time I talked to her, I didn't know about the statin, but every time I talked to her, I could tell. I was like, "Oh, Alzheimer's is starting." She was getting confused. She couldn't remember words. But I spent time just talking to her on the phone, and she happened to tell me she started a statin, and I was like, and she knew, she was aware that her brain wasn't working as well. And I said, "Did you notice the changes in your cognition around the time you started the statin?" And she's like, "Yes, that's exactly when it started." And so she's going to talk to her doctor about stopping it because she's on a GLP-1. That's going to normalize lipids better than anything in a good way. So when it comes to lipids, you guys, it's not the total cholesterol or even the LDL that's important. The most important is going to be your triglyceride to HDL ratio. So triglycerides are a measure of a fat in the blood that goes up not with fat, but with carbohydrate consumption. Because heart disease, the root cause of heart disease is insulin resistance, not fat, not saturated fat. It's sugar and carbs and insulin resistance. Those go up the more carbs we eat, the higher our triglycerides. And when we don't eat enough good fat and we don't exercise, our good cholesterol, our HDL falls. Like mine used to be in the 30s, which is terrible. So, and then I had type 2 diabetes. So I had high triglycerides and low HDL. So my ratio between the two was well above 2, which means most of your LDL is small, dense particles, not the large, fluffy ones that we're not worried about. So everybody thinks LDL is the bad cholesterol. It's not. There's good LDL and bad LDL. I'm simplifying it, but good LDL is large, fluffy particles, not disease promoting. Small LDL, the bad LDL, is the small, dense particles. So you can get an advanced lipid panel, but if you have a regular lipid panel in front of you, a quick and dirty way to find out your risk of heart disease and how much of that, if your LDL is flagged high, is that really a problem, is to take your triglycerides, divide them by your HDL. And if that ratio is 2 or less, you're in good shape. Now, if you have Alzheimer's in your family, we want to aim for a 1-to-1 ratio. And that's what I try to do. So, example of an optimal ratio would be triglycerides of 60 and an HDL of 60. That's perfect. Really, really good. But if you have, triglycerides of 100 and an HDL of 50, that's still a ratio of 2. So that's still for most functional medicine providers okay. But you want to get that down. Those of us with Alzheimer's in the family, we're going to be more sensitive to glucose control, more carbohydrate intolerant. So we want to get those triglycerides down by lowering carbs, get that HDL up with good fats and lifting weights.
Mhm. And going back to statins a little, Laura asks, what do you suggest in lieu of statins?
GLP-1, low carb GLP-1.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going through these questions, guys. There's a lot, so bear with us as we
Love
get
it.
through all of your guys' questions and our and ours. Um, Now, another important piece is the gut, and you talked about how the thyroid connects to the body. So, how does the gut and thyroid connect in terms of overall health? And if there is a gut imbalance, like leaky gut, how does that trigger thyroid problems?
So, and this is the case for almost all autoimmune diseases. I mean, MS, like rheumatoid arthritis, all these things. When we eat foods like gluten and cow's dairy, they can disrupt the tight junctions in the gut that are supposed to be tight and not let in pathogens, bacteria, viruses. They're not supposed to let that in. But when we eat gluten, cow's dairy, it can disrupt those tight junctions and allowing pathogens and other foods and particles to come into the bloodstream that are not supposed to be there. And that causes the body to then react to them and attack itself, causing an autoimmune response. But it also causes general inflammation throughout the body, which causes plaque formation in our arteries, but also causes inflammation in the brain, causing amyloid plaques to be laid down. That's the start of Alzheimer's disease. That's why gluten-free is mandatory in this dementia prevention protocol. Um, it really, these things are reversible. And for those of us with that genetic propensity, the changes in our brain happen as early as our teens. So it is important to start early.
Yeah. And I
I
didn't know
didn't.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that 23andMe had that. I did it like last year, so I'll have to go back and check.
Yeah, yeah, check and see. It's pretty rare. You probably don't have it, but yeah, it does. It runs in my family, so I wanted to get it checked. And yeah, so I have one copy, and because my son has 2 copies, it means that my ex-husband had at least one copy, if not 2 copies himself. So, but he won't get tested. So we'll see.
And
Uh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you see a question that you want to answer, feel free. I'm picking out a few. Stacy asked that her husband just started a GLP-1, but he has been on statins, but he feels that he's still tired. So how will they know when it's time to get off of statins? Would lab work?
I can't tell you to do that. I'm a health coach, not a doctor. But yeah, statins will cause exhaustion. He needs to get his testosterone checked. He needs to be taking CoQ10 because statins deplete CoQ10, which is a critical heart muscle nutrient and a critical nutrient for all muscles. Um, if he's on a GLP-1, he needs to watch his cholesterol is probably going to drop extremely low, too low, and he's going to start having cognition problems. He'll have most of the men who come see me, you guys, straight up, have testosterone lower than mine. It is that bad. That's cholesterol is so critical. The GLP-1 does everything a statin is supposed to do, but without all of the terrible side effects. So it's up to him, and a lot of doctors will give him a lot of trouble for it, but the research is there. I would encourage him to get a second opinion or do whatever feels right to him. The idea that we were brought up with, and I'm from a family of doctors, so I get this. We were brought up with do what your doctor says, don't ask questions, don't advocate for yourself. Those days are gone. If we don't advocate for ourselves, if we don't do our own research, we are not going to get the best care because we have a sick care system. We do not have a healthcare system. It is financially beneficial for conventional medical doctors to keep you sick. They'll have more procedures to do, more office visits to see, right? Functional medicine is usually cash pay because we heal people and they go away. And so we have to make some money somewhere, right? Like when I do a functional lab analysis, it's a one and done. People are like, "Well, how often?" I'm like, "I'm probably not going to see you again except for on social media and you're just off living your best life with hot girl summer." Like it's not a great business model, but it is very rewarding because people get better. And I get them hooked up with the right clinicians, and then they're off to the races. And honestly, there's an unlimited amount of people who need help, so I'm not really worried about it. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, I can't give medical advice, but yeah, Jonathan, my fiance was like, "Oh hell no!" Like I had him read. There's a great book. It's called The Great Cholesterol Myth by Dr. Stephen Sinatra. It was basically like why statins don't help heart disease and the statin free program that will. And it's an older book, so it probably doesn't have GLP-1s in it. That's okay. Now we have GLP-1s. I mean, they lower the risk of heart disease by 20 to 50%, you guys. They improve kidney function so much they had to stop the study on kidney function on GLP-1s in the middle because the patients on semaglutide who were taking it, their kidney function improved so much. Ethically, they had to stop it and give the semaglutide to the control group because kidney function, as you know, once it gets beyond a certain point, you're on dialysis for the rest of your life. There's no coming back. We haven't had anything that reverses kidney function. That lab is called EGFR. That's your kidney filtration rate. We want that to be above 90, you guys. If yours is below 90, GLP-1. I've seen my fiance's EGFR go up on a GLP-1, and that's been amazing for him because kidney issues run in his family. His mom has kidney failure right now. And I tried to get her on a GLP-1 several years ago, but she wouldn't. Um, let's see. So anyway, the gut practices. Having good gut health is critical to reducing inflammation. So an anti-inflammatory diet is so important. The most inflammatory things you can consume are gluten, cow's dairy, alcohol, sugar, processed carbs. Okay. So to the extent you can get rid of those, lift twice a week, at least 100 grams of protein a day. Keep your total, not net, carbohydrates daily to about 100. Fill up the rest on good fats, protein, micronutrients. No need to count calories. I don't know if I've talked about this, but when it comes to weight loss, it's about the insulin, not about the calories. Calories in, calories out. I fell for that for years. And I really wasn't convinced of it because I just thought, no, this is a math. equation, right? Like this has to be, these are people are fooling themselves. It's calories in, calories out. It is not. The way at first I saw it myself when I was reversing my type 2 diabetes. I was tracking my carbs. I was in normal weight range, but 30 pounds heavier than I am now, like higher end of my normal weight range. Full on type 2 diabetes. My doctor said 100 total carbs a day. That's it. Eat the rest. Good fat, protein, micronutrients. I was like, all right. So when I did that, when I lowered carbs and increased good fats, my calories, daily calories actually went up. And I could see that in my Fitness Pal, although I wasn't tracking calories. I was just using it to track carbs. And what I found is that without trying, I was losing weight steadily until I got down to my high school weight. And one day, this is the day that's like set in my mind. I knew that the day before I had eaten 4,000 calories. And I woke up the next morning 2 pounds down. 2 pounds below my high school weight. So now we're getting into middle school weight territory at it in my 40s, right? I was like, so I called my doctor and I was like, this is kind of getting gross. Like I feel great, but like I don't want any more weight loss than this. She said, oh yeah, you've discovered that it's the insulin, not the calories. And I was like, well, I guess so. She said, now it's you use carbohydrates as a lever. You're going to add back nutrient dense carbs. We're not adding back Pop Tarts and wine. Add back berries, nuts, seeds, avocado, olives, those kind of things until your weight stabilizes. Because we need enough good carbs to stimulate enough of an insulin response to tell your body to store some fat. So, insulin is that hormone that tells your body to store fat, not burn it. It tells your body what to do with the calories you're eating. So I was like, still, I don't, there has to be calories. I'm still, she goes, okay, look up pictures. She said, you know the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. I was like, maybe. She said, okay, type 1 diabetes is a disease of not enough insulin. They can't make any insulin, right? Type 2 diabetes, totally different disease. That's a disease of excess carbohydrate consumption and too much insulin. Different diseases. Type 1 diabetics don't have any insulin. Before we had insulin to give them exogenously, if you look up type 1 diabetics in like 1900 before we had insulin to give them, tell me what pictures you find. What do they look like on their deathbeds? They look like concentration camp victims. There's a famous one of a doctor holding a diabetic child. Look, it literally looks like they just came out of a concentration camp. They're so skinny. And that is because if they gave them 10,000 calories a day, no matter how many calories they gave them, without insulin, they had nothing to tell their bodies what to do with those calories. So
Mm.
and then I said, okay, all right, I'm kind of getting it. And she said, okay, finally, and if you don't believe me after this, finally, there is a very sad phenomenon among mostly teenage girls with type 1 diabetes called diabulimia. And my daughter has a friend who I'm pretty sure has this because I saw her at prom. She was like 97 pounds and 5'7", where they do not inject their insulin so they can eat whatever they want and be skinny. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. So it's the insulin, is not the calories. So what we want to do is shift to a insulin sensitive lifestyle, low in carbs, high in nutrient density, good fats, protein, micronutrients. And that is so sustainable, you guys. I spent all of my teen years and early 20s starving, doing the whole 1980s low fat, low calorie, just starving all the time. 800 calories a day. It's not necessary. Um, and now, like my dinner was just a protein shake and 10 pieces of bacon. That was because I've been on calls all day. I was like, what can I do fast? It's protein and fat. That's kind of typical. Last night we had a rotisserie chicken and some cauliflower rice. Um, we have, RX bars, which have, decent amount of carbs in them, but I can tolerate that now that I'm a little more, my metabolism is a little more healed. So anyway, off on a tangent, but if you're starving yourself, please don't. Just switch the foods you are eating to more insulin sensitive ones. And not only will you feel better, your body will be more nourished, which we all need, especially going into perimenopause and menopause. We want good hair growth. We want, our bodies to have all the nutrients we need, and we don't want to eat inflammatory substances that are going to fuel autoimmune disease.
Mhm. No, thank you for sharing that nutrition part. It definitely plays a huge important role in it.
Mhm.
Another path for it is peptides, of course. So we talked about GLP-1s. So what has been your experience with other peptides that come into play for thyroid or metabolic health? I know that you've used BPC, the copper peptide in the past. What have you seen?
So I actually just got my labs done. I checked just before this to see if my labs results were back. They aren't because this is the first kind of round of labs that I've been consistently doing the glow stack, which if you guys don't know, that is BPC 157, TB 500, and GHKCU. So I am doing those for hair, skin, and nails, but also for injury recovery. I've got frozen shoulder in both shoulders. That's welcome to perimenopause, 52. Sometimes it seems like everybody has this. Um, and it is helping so much. I started lifting a couple of years ago. I just do twice a week, but my biggest fear was the shoulder injury was going to keep me from lifting and continuing to put on muscle mass, which I have in the last year, put on 4 pounds of muscle mass. And because, at my age, the risk is frailty, osteoporosis, those kind of things. So hormone replacement is huge, but these peptides, they are regenerative, they are anti-inflammatory, they help with chronic pain. They have been incredibly helpful in lowering my pain, my ability to continue to lift weights and raise the amount of weight that I'm able to lift. Um, and just function, right? Like when you have frozen shoulder, you have a limited range of motion. Like it is very disruptive to life. And it's been incredibly helpful for me. I have struggled with hair loss for 10 years. And I've made my hair loss was a combination of anemia, thyroid, hormones, and and nutrition and all kinds of other issues. But it is helping so much. Since I started the GHKC use in particular, I track my hair loss. I have one of those things in my shower, the little drains that where the hair like collects, and I'm always looking at it like, is it going to look like a cat died in the shower? And I have been, I mean, so little hair loss is coming out since starting that GHKCU, and I'm loving it. It was already way down just from all the other things I was doing, but it's even better. I mean, if you're a woman with hair, right? Like I didn't have a lot of hair to begin with, so I don't have a ton to lose, but it is way better than it was. I should have some before and after pictures. I looked like a wet rat 10 years ago. So I thought I was balding. I went and fitted myself for a wig. I was like, it's never gonna stop. Oh, so sad. Um, but yeah, it's been incredibly helpful for that. Um, and that stack as well has shown to be very anti-aging, so great for skin. And yeah, I feel like my, I don't have the crepey skin that a lot of people my age have. And, yes, I had a facelift like 2 years ago. So I had, can't really count that. But, just look at my legs and my arms, like I feel like my mom at my age was a lot more crepey with no hormones and no peptides and all that. So, but yeah, just for the chronic pain alone, I mean, it was affecting my sleep when you're trying to sleep and your shoulders hurt. Um,
There was a question, I can't find it, but they asked about if Summerellin might be also a good option
Yeah,
for.
definitely. What do I take? I take CJC, ipamorelin, but sermorelin is same thing. So it's a growth hormone releasing peptide. So yes, absolutely. That can be a great one. I would add that one on at the end once you've like gotten more closer towards your metabolic goals. So that because it is a growth hormone, like it is going to cause growth. So you want to make sure your metabolism is pretty healed before you add something that's going to potentially cause growth because metabolic damage is sort of a pro-cancer environment. So we want to make sure that we're not doing any of that. So just I would say put that last and do the GLP-1 first and track your labs. Um, let's see, can you get labs done through you? I cannot order labs, but you can ask. If you meet with me and you're my coaching client, I would get your full medical intake and advise you on which labs you in particular would need to request from your doctor to get the answers that we need. And then because first choice is to get them done through your provider, through your insurance. And then if not, you can order any remaining labs from BLT System Labs. It's you don't need a doctor at all. It's cash pay. It's pretty low cost. They have if you there's a great combo package they have in there. It's called the Modern Thyroid Clinic Semaglutide package or panel, I think, and it's $99 and it's all of the metabolic labs that we track for patients on a GLP-1. And it's all together, so it's better priced than if you were to add each one of those to cart. So, Modern Thyroid Clinic Semaglutide panel, and that's with BLT System Labs. Um, if you just want to get it yourself, then you add to cart, you get a register for an account, add them to cart, check out. They will send you a LabCorp lab order, and then you just go get your labs done, and then they will email you your results. And so hopefully you can get your doctor to order them for you, but if you can't, you can order them yourself, and you can show them, look, here's an issue, and maybe next time they will order them for you. Let's see.
I know we're running up on time, so
Oh, are we really?
3 minutes in, I feel like we only covered just the surface. But before everyone leaves, people want to know how can they reach you?
Yes. Okay. So I will put I'll put my link tree in the notes. We'll have all of my socials and my website. Let's see. If we book an appointment with you, how do we get the meds we need? That's where I help you connect with functional medicine providers. So I'll look at your labs and say, okay, here are the medications we need. The first choice is going to be asking your doctor, your insurance covered doctor, to please prescribe, Armour Thyroid 30 milligrams, liothyronine 5 micrograms, estradiol patch zero point 0.1 milligrams, 100 milligrams progesterone, testosterone, troche, whatever it is. Yes, the video is recorded. And asking them specifically for all the prescriptions that you want, and then have them say, I'll do these, but not these. Or have them say, I mean, best case scenario, they say yes, and they will do everything. If there's some things that they can't do, then I direct you to, I have telemedicine operations. We've got Ellie. I've got telemedicine, functional medicine practices. I have local options here in Austin. And I can even help you interview new practices locally if you're somewhere else in the country. I have a list of questions to ask before you even bother making an appointment so you don't waste your time. So, helping find providers is definitely part of what I do in my coaching practice.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you so much, Sally
You're
and
so
Jill. Yes, we
welcome.
will have Sally back.
Oh, good. Oh, I'm so glad you guys. Yeah, follow me on all the socials. I would love to see you guys. There where you can ask me more questions too. Um, And yeah, I would just love to hear it. Let's see. I keep looking at the questions, but I know we have to go. I know. Oh my gosh, there's so many. Not supposed to mix peptides. Yes, you are. You can totally mix peptides. 100%. Yes. Let's see. Yeah, they're not, the problem is not FDA approved. Like so many things are off label, and peptides are natural substances, so they can't be patented. So in our for-profit medical system, we're probably not going to see that. In fact, pharmaceutical companies are going to work against them because they take, like, if we're on peptides and we don't need a hip replacement or a knee replacement, or we don't need prednisone to lower inflammation, right? Then how are they supposed to make money? Ah, thank you, Jill. You're so sweet. NAD plus is great for energy. So yes, helps with weight loss because sometimes if GLP-1 can have a little fatigue. So I love NAD plus for that. Um, okay. GHKCU, yes. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm gonna let y'all go. I could just stay on here and I mean, I could stay on here and answer every other question. Glow Stack is BPC. Good. Somebody answered that. Thank you for hopping in. Best thing I did for my hair health was moving from testosterone cream to injections. It's a little harder to do, but I found a study showing that when you apply testosterone transdermally, it converts to DHT, which is an androgen that's typically responsible for hair loss if you're genetically prone. When you inject testosterone, converts to DHT at a much lower rate. So my labs, I made a post about this on Instagram. My testosterone is still the same on cream as it was on injections, 200 total. That's where I like it. I have no androgen signs. I'm fine. and my free testosterone's 10 to 12, both on cream and injections. The only difference is on the cream, my DHT was in the 400s, you guys, and I was losing all this hair. Now it's in the 100s, but it's very hard to find practitioners who will prescribe injections to women for some reason, but I have one, so I will, anybody who needs that. Yes, I know. I added more estrogen for my frozen shoulder, and that did help too. Yes, lifestyle with Stacy. Yes, yes, 100%. The best thing I did for my health was going off the birth control pill and stopping alcohol. Birth control pill ruined my health. Look up This Is Your Brain on Birth Control by Dr. Sarah E. Hill and um, oh gosh, what's the other one by Jolene Brighton? Beyond the Pill. You guys, it makes us hypothyroid, copper toxic, anemic. It's chemically induced menopause, osteoporosis, all this stuff. I was a hot, hot, hot mess. Takes your testosterone to zero. So yeah, that's what I would say. No alcohol and stopping birth control and going on bioidentical hormones. Um, mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, thank you. Oh, I'm so glad it was helpful. I know I go off on like tangents and stuff. Endurance athletes, yeah, there's no essential carbohydrate, you guys. So your body makes all the carbs, all the glucose we need from fat and protein. So there's essential fatty acids or fats we need to consume because our bodies can't make them. There's essential amino acids or proteins we must consume because our bodies cannot make them. There is no essential carbohydrate. Our liver makes all the glucose we need, which is only 1 teaspoon at a time. That's a tiny amount from fat and protein through a process called gluconeogenesis, make new sugar. So, yeah. So, there are tons of low carb athletes. They do fantastic. If you're seriously, I have one coaching client. She does, instead of 100 carbs a day, she's maybe 150 total carbs a day. And she's a serious competitive athlete, bodybuilder type. But no, she does great. It's not necessary. If you're mostly plant-based, that's really rough. I will say the people who have the most health issues and difficulty losing weight are plant-based. The highest concentration of nutrients are going to be in meat. So if you're not eating meat, you are going to be almost by necessity eating a high carbohydrate diet. I know I'm kind of just throwing it out there, but it does the patients who are on vegan or vegetarian, they need much higher doses of GLP to lose weight, and they need to usually stay on it for life to maintain. Just because it's hard to keep carbs down. And then just there's so much processed food mostly involved. You can eat whole foods, plant-based, but it's very, very hard, especially in the United States. Um, okay, okay. Yes, fatness. Okay. Yes, you have to prioritize protein. Awesome. Die if you eat no cheese. Now, don't worry about it. Not everyone is susceptible to cow's dairy. At least start with the gluten. I like to start with gluten because it's inflammatory for everybody and it's contained in foods that contain no nutrient value. Bread, pasta, cereal, crackers, waffles, all that stuff. So get rid of it. It's too many carbs. It's carbs we do not need. Impedes weight loss, is inflammatory. So start with that, and then eventually, I had to give up cow's dairy because of the eye eczema it was causing. But for years, I got away with just gluten free. Yes, great cholesterol myth. EGFR should be at least 90. That's your kidney filtration rate. At least 90 is optimal. So start to watch that. Below 60 is kidney failure. So watch that. Heart disease in my family, great. GLP-1 is perfect for that. Dementia prevention protocol book is called The End of Alzheimer's by Dr. Dale Bredesen. MTHFR is kind of inflammatory. Watch your homocysteine level. We want homocysteine to be less than 7. If you've got MTHFR, you need to be taking methylated B vitamins. Yeah, so thanks. I don't know how to say I don't know, Garner. Yes. Involved that I have a 21-year-old. Yes, I can't believe it. And 18-year-old. Let's see. Um, yes, gluten, dairy-free eczema flare. I know my daughter has to do that for her eczema too. That's where our whole family. Okay, I think I got to a lot of these. Um, Redo tests under cholesterol. 218 is a perfectly fine cholesterol. In fact, some studies show that cholesterol of 222 is the most optimal. Again, cholesterol is cancer protective. It is the building block for every hormone in the body. Great for brain health. We just want to have low triglycerides and high HDL. Na, 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 na. Being sick all the time, immune system depression, abnormal periods, low thyroid. Yes, low thyroid. What I didn't mention about low thyroid is going to be you're going to have a low body temp. Take your body temp get a cheap thermometer, take your temperature every morning, start recording your basal body temperature like you're getting pregnant. And what you'll notice if you have low thyroid function is that you're like 95 degrees, 96 degrees. That's low thyroid function. When you have a low body temp, you cannot run a fever. You get sick. I used to get sick every 6 weeks when my thyroid was low. When I get sick, I take extra armor thyroid. So I heat up and kill off whatever it is. Guess what? It works. Like, like I'm not a doctor, I'm not telling you to do that, but I do. Like my thyroid dose for armor is like between 30 and 90 milligrams as needed. So I take the full 90 if I feel like I'm coming down with something. So I heat up. Heat and fever is how we um, kill pathogens. Yes. Okay. Okay.
Amazing. Thank you for
Okay,
answering all
okay.
of
All
those.
right, all right. All right. I hope that helps you guys. All right. Hope to get in touch with some of you. Feel free to reach out. I think my email and my phone number are on my website that are through the link tree. So, all right. Hope to see y'all on the socials.
Amazing. Thank you
Love
so
you
much again,
guys.
Sally.
You're welcome. Okay.